Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. It's a new year, a new beginning. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Digital Data Podcast. I'm your host, Cecilia Maundu, and this year we are going big. And to show you that we are going big, we are having a series called the Sustain Podcast Series, where we are going to be featuring 6 tool teams. And by 6 tool teams, I mean 6 teams that are dealing with different apps. And this episode has been made possible by InterNews under the Sustain project. And our team number one is the Tella app. Well, I don't want to talk much about the Tella app because I have 4 people here from the team who will give you all the juicy details about this. We're going to talk about open source tools and how they are able to give people a chance to be innovative. They're able to provide privacy, and also they're able to provide issues to do with security. So, welcome to this episode, and I'm going to give my guests an opportunity to introduce themselves and they'll tell us what they do and where they are based. I can tell you it's the United Nations here because people are based from different parts of the world. Welcome. So, welcome to Digital Data Podcast, and thank you so much for making the time. I really appreciate. I know it has taken some time to plan this episode, but now we are here. So let's start with Wafar.
Hello, Cecilia. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Wafar. I'm based in Tunisia. I'm a mobile developer and I work on Tella, the Android version.
Thank you so much, Wafa, for making the time. Yes, next.
Thank you.
And my name is Carolina. I'm based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'm a product manager for Tela, and I've been at Horizontal for almost 1 year and a half already. And I'm very happy to be at Horizontal and to be able to participate in this podcast and project with you all.
Welcome so much, Carol. Welcome. Every time we hear women talking about being like a product manager, women being in tech is such an exciting opportunity because we know the numbers are very few. So we are excited. It's people like you who make young girls know that this is very, very possible. Yes, Juan.
Yes, thanks. And I'm Juan. I'm also from Buenos Aires, not for long. And I'm web developer and infrastructure developer, let's say, in horizontal for almost most than 2 years. So yeah.
Welcome, Juan. So I'm going to go straight into details, and I would ask any one of you can answer this question. Can you provide a brief overview of the Tela app? The Tela app open source tool that you have developed, an app that I've seen journalists using in this country, which I got so excited because I'm part of the project and I was like, oh, wow. So tell us a little bit about Tela app.
Yes. Tella is a mobile app. It's on both platform, iOS and Android. It's an application actively used by 5,000 people around the world, and it has variety of purposes, like used in election, human rights violation evidence, and sending data securely outside of repressive areas. In fact, in conditions marked by limited internet access, Tella is the best tool to enhance the process of documenting human rights, providing a safer platform for data collection. Tella has a lot of functionalities. We could say it allows us to secure files. It has a functionality of capturing photos, videos, and audio recording and encrypt them so all the files are really secure. It has the data in it. It remains inaccessible by using phone's standard gallery or file explorer. It also safeguards the files with a lock. We use like a PIN or password to fortify the files. The correct code is the only way to decrypt the files inside Tella. And finally, we could like hide the app by using the camouflage functionality. It modified the appearance of Tella to hide it from those searching it on the phone. So it could be like a calculator app instead, or another app beyond a list. And it hides the appearance of Tella.
Thank you so much, Wafa. Caro, I would this the next question. Wafa talked about documenting human rights abuses, and as I said earlier, I have seen journalists who have actually been using Tela. I would like to know, apart from journalists, who are the other group of people who actually use Tela?
Well, this is a very good question, and it's very related actually to what you were saying before, Cecilia. Tela was born like from the very first day, based on the user's need, and the first implementation of Tela was actually in Nigeria for election monitoring. So yeah, so in this case, it was used by an organization who was managing volunteers all over the country in the different election districts, and they would take photos, take video of violation in the election monitoring process, like violations like police forces or missing files, etc. So not files like bullets, ballots. So yeah, so in this case, Tela was used by an organization who was working with activists on the ground in different areas. So Tela was used to not only collect information but share it to a centralized place so they could quickly make reports and share with the public what was happening with the election. And it's also used for individual journalists, as you were saying. In this case, like the first case was for a bigger organization working with volunteers, but it's also used by, like, for example, investigative journalists who are conducting a research and they want to keep the information safe in their phone, for people searching for their phone, for the possibility of people confiscating their phones, etc. And the third use case could be activists who are on the ground and they want to just collect information and share it with the information that they are working with. That could be, for example, outside of the country, or in a of if they are in an area who don't have consistent internet access and they want to collect information, keep it secure in their phone, and as soon as they reach to an area where internet is available, share it with the organization. So yes, we say that these are the three main use case main use cases of Tela: journalists, activists, and organization working in human rights.
Thank you so much, Caro. Funny you mentioned elections, because this year, I think 74 countries are going into the election. They're saying this is the biggest year in election history. Is there like a specific country that you've seen is really embracing Taylor during this year, the 2024, where we say the biggest election year?
I don't have any organization top of mind in a particular country, but I know that in Nigeria is this was the first
Yeah.
implementation of Tela, and it's continually being used to this day. Also in Serbia, also in Brazil. So yeah, the election monitoring is one of our biggest cases, and yeah, organization all over have been using Tela for this.
I didn't know that. Now I know. Thank you so much. So, Juan, I would come to you. Can you highlight some of the key features of the open source tool that is Stellar, and how it addresses specific needs in the community?
Yeah, so I think the big main feature that Tela has, and it's like the thing that makes it useful, is that it encrypts data, it protects data. Uh, what do I mean with encrypt? Just in case, is
Yes.
a way of scrambling your data, like saying your images, your audios, your videos, a way of making it look like another thing, so people can't really see the content of it. So you need to pass through some sort of authorization for being able to read the actual contents of of those files. Um, so that's, I guess, I will say,
One.
our most important feature, because it's what makes people safer, in my opinion. Um, on top of that, we have camouflage, that it's not only, so you have encryption for protecting your data, and you have camouflage for hiding the fact that you are using Tela. So in some scenarios, uh, police forces or people that are chasing activists and journalists already know that what Tela means, meaning that already know that if you have that this application in your phone, you are hiding something. So we have camouflage to make the app look like a calculator or something like that, in
I
order
can't.
to protect yourself
Mhm, mhm.
from. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think one of the most exciting features that I've seen on Tela is the camouflage. And I remember, Carol, you were invited by Localization Labs some few weeks ago, and you were talking about it. And also, I remember I was doing a training with IREX, and IREX was talking about Tela and the camouflage, and everyone in the room was really mesmerized. So that is one of the features that I really find very, very interesting. So, when we talk about technologies, there is the issue of programming languages. So, what are the programming languages that you leverage in developing the tool, and why have you chosen those specific programming languages? And I think I would come back to one also on that.
Um,
Or
we
Wafar,
are
whoever wants to go.
for the
Mhm.
sorry.
Mm.
I will just talk about the mobile app. So for the mobile app, we are using Android Tech with Kotlin as a languages, and iOS technology with Swift as a coding language. It's the native way because Tela is so much complex, so we could not like go with something like Flutter or hybrid platform. In fact, we like to experiment with different technology, and we choose free and open source one when we have the choice, just to incorporate our value in our work. For example, the Tela is accessible on the F-Droid platform, which is specialized in distributing open source Android application. We lately like distribute Tela on F-Droid. Um, and maybe Juan could continue.
Yeah, on the side of servers and all that that we use as an organization, we use Greenhost, that is a green energy hosting provider. So, and we one for protection of the data of the users we have, and two, because it's green energy, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, and on the same way, all of the services that we try to use, we try to make them self-hosted, meaning that we don't hire third-party services. So we take very seriously the fact that the data doesn't travel around a lot of companies, and like you can't really track where it's going. So the data that it's on our servers, it's that's the last step, and it doesn't path towards that. So it's really important for us to be mindful of that and to, yeah.
Thank you so much. Now that to the next question is how does Tella handle contributions from the open source community? And can you share some of the memorable contributions from the community? When we talk about, Caro, this question is for you. Explain to our viewers what is open source so that in case someone doesn't know what is open source, they're not left behind. And then now we come to the issue of the contributions.
Yes, I can take this one. Well, Tela, we haven't mentioned, but it's a tool that is by default open, like all of our code, all of our, and we provide ways for the community to also be involved in the development of the Tela platform, not only technically but also with their ideas on needs, their ideas on what is challenging by using the app, what languages, accessibility are needed, etc. Openness is one of our values, and we believe that being an app that is so based in security, being as much as open as possible in the general sense, in the code, which is in general what we mean with open source tools. The code is open and available for everyone to audit, to see, to check how we code, that what we say about the security of the app is actually like this. And besides of this, we also had independent security audits that confirms also what we said about the security of the files, the encryption, the privacy of the users. There is independent firms that do check our code, audit our coding practices, etc., and like provide proof that it is like what we are saying. And in general, in the contributions of the community, we haven't had like a full feature, developed by someone who is not us into our code base. But our code is open, and we often receive contributions in the form of reporting bugs, in the form of asking in our open community calls that are every month, about needs, about these type of things. And even though we haven't had a big feature implemented by someone that is outside of our team, we are in the process of getting contribution. And right now, as Juan was saying before, we also not only choose tools that are open source, but we also choose technologies that are developed by our colleagues, our colleague organizations that are working with tech and human rights. And right now we are in the process of changing the way that we are implementing the verification of the files. And this is being actually implemented by an outsider, an organization working in a partner organization, who also work in tech for human rights. So we are very excited about this, and we hope it is the first step, to welcome more contribution for other developers.
Wow, interesting because when it comes to the open source tool, the code is always in the public domain, so that in case someone wants to audit, they are able to find out what information the app is keeping. Wafa, I would come to you when it comes to open source tool, which is now the big question of the day. There's something very key, which is sustainability. Tell me something. How have you been able, as a team, to be able to sustain Tella? Because we know one thing that is lacking in the open source community is there's less funding. So how have you been able to sustain Tella for these years?
Um, I mean, in terms of fundings, am I right?
Yes. Let me repeat my question. We know there is the issue of
Yeah.
sustainability when it comes to the issue of open source tools. What is the one thing that you and your team, and anyone can also contribute to this amongst yourself, how have you been able to sustain Tella for this long and keep it going?
I
Maybe I
mean,
can. Maybe
okay.
Do you
Uh,
want me to jump in and then you can continue on
Okay.
it?
Okay.
Because of my role, I have more visibility about the funding part. But then Wafa, I think, can say more about how we
Okay.
manage like the technical part of it. But yes, funding, we always say, is one of our main roadblocks or challenges or difficulties, because the way that civil society in general get funded is by a long application process of developing tools, like, to for example, you could say, we are going to develop this tool, and then the assessment of the proposal takes months and years to be approved, and then you are able to implement, like, for example, from a year from the moment that you have heard the need from the user. So it always feels that you're running behind, and
Yeah.
that you don't have enough, flexibilities inside your team to decide what you're saying, what is sustainability means for you, how do you want to manage your relationship with the communities, how you are properly able to respond quickly to urgencies also in the community needs or changes in the context of the community. So it is a challenge, but what we are doing in order to do that is to try to diversify our funds as much as possible, to try to reach for funds that also believe in what we are talking about, like the how important it is to define sustainability and what sustainability means for each of the organization, and how can the organization better serve the community needs. So I can say it is a challenge, but it's something that we are actually working on. Yeah, I would say that from the funding point of view.
Um, in the tech side, we always try to go for things like we said open source, so we could not like charge it on the organization and limit the money used for technology. And as said Caro, we always aim to find more funding and to present Tella and other apps to communities that are interested in giving money.
Thank you so much. As we said, sustainability in the open source tool community is quite a challenge. And as I said, this episode has been made possible by InterNews through the Sustain project. And under the Sustain project, we are talking about how can we be able to help open source tools to be able to sustain and be able to stand on themselves. So this question is for Juan. So in terms of adaptability, how has the tool evolved to meet changing user needs and technological advances? So in terms of adaptability, how has the tool evolved to meet changing user needs and technological advancement? That's for Juan.
So yeah, thanks. So I think the main thing that was like a focus on, correct me Karen Waffer if I'm wrong, but like last year or even more than that, is to be able to create some sort of redundancy in terms of the data. So what I was saying before, like to protect your data, then protect yourself, and now it's like to try to secure that data. Like the what is the right next step? That's the next step for us. And in that scenario, we started working on connecting Tela to servers to being able to protect the data besides that phone. So meaning that if the phone is destroyed or stolen or lost or whatever, the thing that you recorded is still somewhere safe. In that scenario, we work with Kobo and with Wasi to make connections with external organizations, and we started working on TelaWeb, that is like our own data server. So I guess that was like the most evolving thing that came from like to the idea of trying to create an ecosystem of uh, security, right? So I think this is like a very good step forward in terms of like helping groups of people instead of individuals, like groups of journalists or activists that can have their data centralized on a secure place. So yeah, I guess that's what I will answer to that.
Thank you so much for that. And Caro mentioned one of the challenges, which was the issue of sustainability. I also have another question when it comes to challenges, and also I would want to know what has been the solution to this challenge. And the question is, were there any significant challenges or roadblocks your team faced during the development of the tool? And how did you overcome them? You know, we are trying to speak to the open source community. There are people who are listening to this podcast who have like a tool in mind, and they will learn so much from you because we always learn from people's experiences. So what are some of the roadblocks that you experience when you are coming up with Tella, and what are some of the solutions that you've been able to find from the challenge?
This is a really nice question. And something that I usually say is, especially to the technical audience, I have a background in computer science, so I come with a very technical background. And I see that sometimes we technical people tend to believe that technology is, like this solution of a lot of problems. And it is, oftentimes technology is one piece of the solution, but it's not like the full solution. It's not that we are going to fix some of the bigger problems in the world with just tech. It's in general it's more like a more holistic solution that it involves people, that involves tech, that involves training, that involves a lot of things. So one of the yeah, I would say solutions or lessons learned over our career is that support needs to be more holistic. Like you cannot always, just take one solution that works in one place and just put it in other place and expect that the context will be the same. So we do, in order to fix this, we do a lot of, as we were saying before, community work. We try to work as much as possible to the communities that we serve. We listen the challenges that they face. We listen from them also what are the solutions that could work better for them in their case, because sometimes I don't know, not all contexts are the same. So maybe what is easier for my context is not what is easier for Wafar or Juan context. So we try to listen and to empower the community to participate in the Tela development process. And this way we learn a lot. And we believe this way the tool is more reflective of the variety of contexts that the tool is meant to to work to help with. So I would say this is one of our main learnings, and what I would like to um, uh, empower or to transmit to the technical community, that technology is just a toolbox, and there is much more than this, and the majority of things about people and about community.
Thank you, Caro. Something that you've said, which is very profound. We tend to believe that technology has every of our solution, and yet we human beings are the ones who created that technology. So there are so many solutions that technology cannot provide, and we can provide, and is a very good way of looking at things. And that brings me to the next question. How do you keep your user community engaged, and what does the role of feedback play in the ongoing development of your tool?
Yes, and we have been working on this a lot over the last year. First of all, we host monthly community calls that are open for anyone who wants to join, like just for a like quick introduction of Tela, to hear what we will be developing over the next month, to provide feedback. Oftentimes, we welcome even developers who are like, I'm interested in this. And the other time, it was funny because there was one developer joining from a colleague organization who also work in tech and human rights, and we asked him a lot of questions. Actually, we are thinking in developing this. How you are doing it? So we hear a lot, not only about the needs, but also about the tech. So it's a good space if you are all in. Anyone listening is interested in to participate. It is the first Wednesday of the month, and the information is public in our website. And it's a nice space, and you don't need to know anything in particular, about Tela. It's a very open space. Um, and other ways, because we also face this problem of the privacy and the security of our users. So not all users are safe to join a community call, for example, to show their face, or maybe the communication platform is not available in their countries, or maybe they don't know this space exists. So on the latest Tela releases, we added also a anonymous feedback form inside the app, where users could write a message to us that is not linked to them in any way possible. We don't have information about where they are, or what device they are in. We just receive an anonymous email with any information about them. And this is a way that it was just launched, but we already received some feedback from the users in TelaWeb for them to reach out to us and to provide feedback to us in a way that is completely anonymous and private for them. And we also have the usual platforms, right? Like the news, we have a newsletter, we have social media, and we also hear from users over social media, over our email, and over just individual calls. But we are very proud of our community call and our feedback metal form that we just developed.
I like that because you have provided a variety of ways that users can be engaged. If you don't have time for the meeting, you can give your feedback and you can make it anonymous as possible. So I would like to say you are actually preaching water and drinking water, not preaching water and drinking wine. So thank you so much for that. So it brings me to the next question. Can you share any success stories or impactful use cases where your tools has made a difference for organizations or individuals? And I'll go fast. I know there's a journalist in Kenya who was doing a very investigative story piece, and one of the tools that she said really helped her during the investigative, because it was like a 1 year investigative story, and even when the story came out, she was really threatened. But I remember when I interviewed her, she said one of the tools that really helped me was Tella app. So that is a success story. So I would also want to hear if there are other success story.
Can share a few. The one that I like a lot is one that is close to where I live, which is in Brazil. We work in an organization who work with frontline defenders in the Amazon forest, who were native communities living in the forest, and they didn't have, of course, very consistent internet access, and they wanted to document attacks and persecutions that they had been facing. So they had phones available, and they had Tele installed in their phones, and they were basically collecting information and sharing, collecting information in their phone and sharing with the organization as soon as they had internet available. So it was a really nice partnership with a cause that is, very important. And yeah, it was very nice. The success of this was the creation of a map and a story that journalists could pick up to hear from the communities on the ground about what was happening in the Amazon. And they created a story and they published it like in the major newspaper in Brazil. and this was, I think, in 2019. And then the election monitoring processes are, as I was saying before, very important and are the ones in general that has a bigger user base. For example, this election monitoring in Nigeria had over 1,000 users, and they collected over 7,000 reports from all over the country. And yep, in Serbia in 2020 in the election, it was very similar. We had fewer users. We had 250 users reporting violation of the democratic process election, and they share with their organization that they were working with, and they were able to quickly report and share to the public audience what were the failures in the democratic process that were happening. So yeah, I would say these are good examples. If I can say another one more, is like not more, just very quickly, is a very simple use case, and is what we were saying. Like hiding the phone is something that the users really appreciate, because
Yeah.
sometimes when they go to military checkpoints or police checkpoint, they are asked to hand their phones, and they really appreciate to be able to hide not only the information but Tella itself in their phones.
Yeah, I know that's one of the exciting features of Tella. So, Wafa, I would come to you. So, what are some of the future developments or enhancements can the community expect from the Tella team and generally your open source tool? What are some of the things that we should expect in the near future?
Um, yes, in the future, we are like expecting a lot of implementing a lot of functionality in Tela. Uh, we could talk about internet shutdown resilience. In fact, we will like implement this feature soon to have to cover like background sending reports and uh, where when the internet is not good, we will like focus on that, and we will have more server integration. We already have some server as our web server and UASI and ODK, and we will like work on some other integration. We will work also on implementing content distribution through resources like the a project manager will be able, without any technical knowledge, to create resources on Tella web and make those resources visible for users of Tella. It's a way of communication that will enhance the use of Tella. Also, we are working more and more on accessibility, on documentation, on adding other languages, and simplifying the adoption of TeleWeb, uh, like simplifying the installation of it. That's for the website.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, as we come near the end of the interview, all good things must come to an end. So, what are the future plans and innovation? What future developments or enhancement? No, okay, that one you talked about. What advice do you have for open source contributors, that is the end user community, and also development? This is coming from the point of view, what have you learned in this journey of Taylor, and what advice can you give to future developers and also end users as ourselves?
I could answer that.
Anyone can, yes. Mhm.
Um, yes. Uh, as a developer, my advice would be like to always read documentation, understand the project documentation, and having coding standard and seeing the contribution guidelines is always help to have an overview of each feature before starting the code. Uh, uh, Also, like said Caro, we always tech people. We are always thinking about tech, but we should think about engaging with communities, asking for guidelines, asking questions, and seeking guidance and learn from experience people in all over fields. We should also what's helped me as a developer is accepting feedback positively and trying always to improve in communication, in technical skills, and seeking feedback always is something that make you more engaged and you will have more skills in all the fields. And for complex things, complex tasks, you should always begin with small ones and move to more complex things, so you could always improve and uh, always even if a feature is really difficult, when you divide it, you will find the solution easily.
Thank you, Wafa. And I have one question for also one. How can other development tools foster collaborative and supportive environment within the open source community? How can other development teams foster a collaborative and supportive environment within the open source community?
Um, okay, so something that Cara said before is that we don't have that many interactions, at least on the technical side. But what I can say is that the few we had, we really took care of them, I guess, in my opinion. Like, we really took the time to answer questions and to engage, because it makes you feel very good to see someone being interested enough in your work to ask these kind of questions and to have curiosity about it. So it doesn't happen too often to us, but it makes you feel like a sense of gratitude, and that's like, you can't, at least on my personal experience, it's like you can't really leave that person hang off to dry, like not answering them for a week. Like, I cannot stop thinking about that question, because usually also are introspective aspects of an app that make you think, or a new feature or a different way of doing things. Like, it's really helpful feedback. So I guess the main challenge for it is to make time to do it. But I feel like if you are able to make time to answer the people that are engaging with your application, uh, those people tend to stay. And I feel like even if we have a small base of user and technical users using our apps, I think that they stayed. So yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think one of my biggest key takeaway from this conversation is how your team engages with the user community. Because we always say you can have a very good team, but if you don't have people, you can have a very good tool, but if you don't have users using it, then it beats the logic of the tool. And for you to have more users, it's for you to engage with the users to know what they need so that you can be able to tailor make the tool according to their needs. So as we come to the tail end of this conversation, I would come back to you, Carol. What are your hopes about the Sustain project now that you're part of the Sustain project? We are creating the Sustainability Action Plan. What is the one thing that you can tell me that has excited you about this project and you're looking forward to?
Well, I'm very excited about this project actually because of the. I found it very unusual the way that we are working on it and very well thought in reality. Like for example, the fact that we have a lot of interaction with other grantees organization where we can discuss with each other, learn from each other, hear you faced this problem before. How did you solve it? I faced this problem that you are facing now, or I have this advice for you. This interaction with the community is amazing, and I've been in one of the calls where we were all together, and I left the call thinking in a lot of things. This is something that I value a lot, and I think it's very useful for us already, even though we it started recently the process. We are learning a lot from these interactions. And another thing that I really like is that each organization define what sustainability means for them. Because depending on the growth level of the organization or the reality of the people working in the organization, sustainability could mean a million things. And trying to, this is what we were saying before, these one size fit all type of projects in general are if you're lucky that you fit in this box, perfect. But the most likely that you won't, and you end up doing something that is not your priority right now. And in this case, we were able to define what were the priorities in our sustainability, which is improving our funding strategy, improving our infrastructure, for example, and working in design to make designing more easy, and the possibility of doing activities like this where we could communicate the way that we work, the way that we develop, what are our tools. So that was amazing, and I'm very excited to say that we already started our funding and our fundraising and infrastructure sustainability improvement processes. And I'm very excited about the result and to be able to share it with the other organization that we are collaborating with.
I'm so excited to hear that because you see now, when we hear you say that, because the Sustain project is about catering a sustainability action plan for the 6 tool teams, which Tella is part of them. When I hear you say that, it's very, very exciting because now we know what we are doing is actually working. And when we talk about Sustain, we are talking about sustaining safety tools with analytics, insights, and networking. Is a project under InterNews. It's being funded by DRL, which is the State Department, and there are several partners. One of the partners is Code for Science and Society. There's the Guardian project, and we are working with 6 teams, and which Tella is one of them. And all the teams will be able to come here, and we are going to have an organic conversation. So, Tella team, before we finish, what is the one thing that you would want to add to this conversation that you feel we've not talked about?
Sorry, just one quick thing that comes to mind that we didn't
Yes.
touch is the way
What?
that we operate internally. We are called
What?
horizontal for a particular reason, which is we make our decisions internally horizontally. And so this is something that also reflects the way that we develop our products, but it's the way that we operate or as an organization, and it's something that makes me really excited to work in.
Uh, Yeah, I was just curious about that word, like horizontal. So I'm glad you've explained. So, Wafa, do you have anything to say before you leave?
Um, I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about Tela and to share about it like in a podcast. And I really like the idea that we have in horizontal. We are working from different places, and we are like always changing ideas and talking about everything. I mean, it's really horizontality here. and I really love the idea.
Wafa, can you repeat what you said? Uh, uh, one, something you need to say before we leave? Can you hear me?
Not much from what my partner said. Thanks for inviting us to this. It was very nice. So thanks.
Thank you so much for making the time from the different parts of the world. As I said, this conversation has been like a United Nation conversation because we are from different parts of the world. It has formed a
Oh.
very powerful cocktail. And as I said, this episode has been made possible by InterNews through the Sustain
This was really
project,
nice.
which the Sustain project
Congrats,
is about
Wafe and Juan.
sustaining safety tools with
It was
Thank
analytics,
amazing
you.
interview.
insight,
I
and
really liked it.
networking. Is a
How did you
DRL
feel? You
funded
like it?
project in collaboration with Code for
Yes,
Science and
I like it.
Society and the Guardian project. And the
Cool,
idea
cool.
is to create or
And Juan, you
assist
will
these
meet
6 tool
Cecilia in
teams that
Brussels.
we have in creating multi-year sustainable strategies tailored to their
Nice.
specific needs. Thank you so much, and I look forward to having the next team. And I hope you learned something about the open source community, and if possible, try and be part of the open source community. Thank you so much.